Hi, I'm Annika from iDoc, and in this video I'm going to show you how to easily replace the screen of your Oppo Find X5 Lite yourself. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, we would be very happy if you would make up for it at this point. It's free of charge and you will not only support our work, but also you won't miss any of our new videos. But here we go with the video finally. Have fun! Replacing the screen of the Oppo Find X5 Lite is the most complex repair, because all components have to be removed. The nested design makes this tricky at times. Allow about 90 to 120 minutes for the repair. You will need the following tools. In addition, these tools can be helpful. All tools, as well as an original replacement screen, can be found in our online store at idoc.eu/en. We've put the links in the info box. Don't forget to turn off your smartphone before the repair to avoid a potential short circuit. To do so, press and hold the power button for a few seconds. The Oppo is opened via the heavily glued back cover. To remove it, you first have to heat its edge for a few minutes. Use a heat gun or a normal hairdryer for this. Be careful not to burn your fingers. Once the back cover is sufficiently heated, place a suction cup on its lower edge and pull it upwards to create a gap between the back cover and the screen unit. At the same time, insert a flat pick into the gap. If you have difficulties with this, the flex can help at the beginning. Its sharp metal edges make it particularly easy to insert. To avoid scratching anything, however, you should switch back to a plastic tool as soon as possible. As an alternative to the suction cup, we can recommend the iSlack. Thanks to its leverage, you need less force to lift up the back cover. To facilitate the loosening, you can warm up the edge of the back cover in between. Once the beginning is made, run your tool around the back cover and detach it from the rest of the case unit bit by bit. Leave flat plastic picks in the loosened areas so that the glue cannot bond again. Around the camera module, we recommend using a hard plastic pick. Due to its rounded corners, you can't insert it too far and therefore don't run the risk of damaging the sensitive camera lenses. Once the back cover is completely loose, you can remove all tools and take it off. Before you can detach the middle frame, you first have to remove the SIM tray. Use a SIM tool to press into the small opening next to the SIM tray to push it out of the case. Then pull it out completely. Now unscrew the 18 Phillips screws of the middle frame. To avoid losing the small screws, we recommend using a magnetic pad. Additionally, the middle frame is hooked to the screen unit and has to be released from it. Take a flat pick and push it between screen unit and middle frame with a bit of pressure, preferably on one of the long sides first. Then run the tool around the frame once. It should audibly and noticeably detach from the screen unit. Next, you can remove the battery. It is attached with an adhesive film and can be removed via tabs without heating and levering. Now disconnect the battery. Always disconnect the battery as early as possible to avoid a short circuit. Loosen the two wide tabs of the adhesive film. Then also the two narrow adhesive tabs of the battery. Pull them upwards on both sides with a little force. That way the battery can be removed without the use of heat. Afterwards, remove the adhesive film underneath the battery. Heat it briefly so that it can be removed more easily from the bottom of the case. Disconnect the screen cable from the USB board. Then also separate the black connecting cable. Its lower end is divided into two parts, a connector and a slot for the screen cable. The latter is slightly glued and can be best removed with tweezers. However, the tweezers have to be ESD certified to avoid damaging the board. Now separate the two antenna cables from the USB and motherboard. For detaching the small metal connectors, we also recommend using ESD tweezers. Once the connectors are separated, you can start to pull the cables out of their guide and the edge of the case. Since they run underneath the volume cable, it has to be detached as well to remove them completely. To do this, first pull off the adhesive strip on the inside of the case that holds the volume cable in place. Then briefly heat the glued cable and carefully remove it from the edge of the case with a pair of tweezers. Now you can pull both antenna cables out of the device, one after the other. Remove the speaker in the next step. Since it is neither screwed nor glued, you can take it directly out of the device. The next step is the USB board. Before you can remove it, you have to separate the connectors of fingerprint sensor and the connecting cable. Afterwards, you can carefully pry the motherboard out of its guide with a spatula. Remove the vibration motor. It is slightly glued. Run a pair of tweezers underneath it to separate it from the case bottom. Also, the fingerprint sensor has to be taken over when replacing the screen. Again, use ESD tweezers to loosen the slightly glued sensor. At this point, you can now remove the motherboard. Start by separating the two connecting cables and the two camera modules from it. Unscrew the single Phillips screw that holds it in place. Then lever it out of its guide. Be careful not to damage the camera modules and flex cables. The two modules of the main camera are slightly glued into the case. Remove them from their guide with tweezers. Be careful not to damage them. Remove the earpiece. It is neither screwed nor glued and can therefore be taken out directly. And the last step, the two connecting cables have to be detached. First, remove the adhesive tape from the inside of the case that holds them in place. Then heat the glued cables to be able to detach them more easily. We recommend a steel spatula to get underneath the cables. You can find an original replacement screen for your Oppo Find X5 Lite and the appropriate tools for this repair in our online store at iDoc.eu/en. Prepare your replacement screen by removing all seals and protective films from the inside. Also detach the volume cable from the case frame to be able to insert the antenna cables afterwards. You can leave the protective film on the screen glass until the end of the repair to protect it from scratches. Start by reinserting the connecting cables. The labeling on the cables will help you with the alignment. Next, put the earpiece back into its guide and press it firmly. Its golden contacts must face forward. Continue with the motherboard. Be careful not to damage the front camera and connectors. If the motherboard sits evenly everywhere, fix it with a single Phillips screw. Afterwards, reattach the two connecting cables to the board by carefully pressing them in place. Be especially careful when attaching connectors and never press them down with force. A damaged connector can lead to the failure of an entire component. Next come the two camera lenses. Put them back into their guides and press them lightly so that the remaining glue bonds again. Then connect them to the motherboard. Put the fingerprint sensor back in place and press it firmly. Then also the vibration motor. The USB board follows. Be careful not to pinch any connectors or flex cables when inserting it. In order for the board to sit level, the charging jack has to fit properly into the case frame. Reconnect the fingerprint sensor and the connecting cable to the USB board. Put the speaker back on the board and press it down lightly. Now reconnect the two antenna cables one after the other. Start with the white cable. Attach the small metal connector carefully to the motherboard and push it into its small metal guides. Then push it back into its guide at the edge of the case. After that, you can also attach the second connector to the USB board. Proceed the same way with the black antenna cable. The metal connectors are seated correctly when you can hear and feel them click into place. If both cables are in place, you can also reattach the volume cable. Fold it over the antenna cables and press it tightly to the edge of the case. Finally, fix the connecting and volume cables with the adhesive strips. Attach the second connecting cable to the USB board. First, press the slot for the screen cable back into place. Two small plastic lugs on the board help to fix it. Then press the connector of the cable tight again. Continue with the screen cable. Press it firmly onto the slot of the connecting cable. The battery follows. First, press the adhesive film onto the bottom of the case. Then place the battery above it. Finally, attach the adhesive tabs to the battery. Connect the battery. You should always connect the battery as late as possible to avoid a short circuit. Place the middle frame over the screen unit and press it tightly along the frame. If the frame fits evenly everywhere, you can fix it with the 18 Phillips screws. Then put the SIM tray back in place. Its engraving helps you to insert it the right way around. Before you finally close your Oppo again, we recommend testing the replacement screen at this point. Turn on your device. Then drag an app across the screen to see if the touch responds everywhere. Test other basic functions with the help of our checklist. We link it to you in the info box. If something does not work properly, check again if all components are connected and screwed correctly. If everything is okay, you can reattach the back cover. If its adhesive frame is still in good condition, you can simply reuse it. If it has defects or no longer sticks properly, you should remove it and attach a new one. In this case, we use thin, double-sided adhesive tape. Reattach the back cover to the screen unit. Press it firmly along the frame so that it sits evenly everywhere. To make the glue bond properly, warm up the edge of the back cover for a few minutes and then weigh it down with some books. You did it! Your Oppo Find X5 Lite now looks like new again. I hope the repair of your Oppo Find X5 Lite was successful. If you found this tutorial helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you next time! You can find high-quality tools, spare parts and accessories for your smartphone repair in our store, iDoc, everything for your smartphone. Find more repair guides and other helpful videos here.